The number one mindset shift in preventing burnout is exactly what we're going to be talking about today on this week's episode of the Movement, Mind, and Meaning podcast. I'm your host, Megan Nolan. And before we get into this short but sweet episode, have you signed up for the Productivity Leak yet? This is a brand new workshop where you will join us for free and learn the 8 success stopping habits that might be draining your team's time and energy and how to shift them in just 9 minutes a day. So if you haven't signed up yet, you can sign up and join us live if you make it in time, or catch the replay if you catch this in the few days of the workshop itself. And the link to do that will be in the show notes. So join us for that. Now, the number one mindset shift in preventing burnout. Lean in because it's not AI. Lean in because it's not an app. It's not a hack. It's not a brand new hot shiny strategy. It is that breaks are tools, not rewards. Breaks are tools, not rewards. And we're going to talk about the science behind why slowing down will actually help you to speed up, why power pauses are the most effective way to boost your team's energy and performance, and how you can begin to integrate this and implement this literally today. Literally today. Because the truth is that burnout is a symptom of an exhausted, depleted nervous system. And when we get to that point of complete depletion, it takes a long time to get ourselves back from it, to recover at a systemic level, physically, mentally, emotionally, on a overall holistic level. It takes a really freaking long time. And that's because we've literally burnt out and depleted all of our resources. And so it's really imperative that we are proactive and that we recognize that in order to be functioning and performing at your best, as well as, and I think more importantly, feeling your best, it's important that we are proactive. And when we think about performance, we think of being able to get to the finish line in the most effective and efficient way. And we forget that in order for us to do that, it takes thriving at the level of the body, the mind, and the spirit, because you are not a robot. You are not something that is wired in a way that is able to and has the capacity to be performing and running at 100 all the time. And let's talk about this from a level of the body. So you probably are familiar with your circadian rhythm, which is where you start to get sleepy near the end of the day when the light changes around you, and where we have an increase in melatonin and serotonin, and that cause you to get sleepy and go to sleep. And so that's your circadian rhythm that we naturally have throughout the day. So we have another rhythm that's in your body that's called your ultradian rhythm. So your ultradian rhythm, depending on the person, runs about every 60 to 90 minutes. And so what happens is that with the ultradian rhythm, what happens is your brain works in natural cycles of high and low alertness, roughly every 60 to 90 minutes. And so at the peak level of performance, when those levels are high, then we are able to focus really clearly. We're able to solve problems. We're able to create. We're happy. We're engaged. We're very much in that output phase. That's when the levels are really high. And so when the brain, after it starts to release lower levels of dopamine, which is what helps to really create that ultradian rhythm, the shift in activity, where we enter, rather than being at a peak, we enter a trough, right? We have that natural cycles of high and low alertness after about 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the person. We have a drop in focus. We have a higher levels of cortisol. We shift in our brain activity because cortisol spike triggers activity in our amygdala, which is the survival center of the brain, and decision fatigue starts to set in. We get really distracted. We can tend to get a little more irritable. We are not as able to create and design at that level that you know you're capable of. So this is a natural rhythm in your brain. And so this means that in order to maximize how much we can and how much we can do in that peak, we also need to respect that in the trough, there are certain things that you can do to bring yourself back up to that peak performance of the brain. And that one of those is not overriding this rhythm. And so when you notice after about 60 to 90 minutes that you're fatiguing, you're distracted, you're, bouncing from project to project, you're staring at a blinking screen or the blinking wheel on the Google Doc or whatever it is that we can recognize that in that moment is a really prime opportunity for you to resource and replenish yourself. So we use a break as a tool, not as a reward. So a tool here is when you notice that you're starting to fatigue or that your output is decreasing, that's when it's time for a power pause to replenish your energy. And so what I mean here is that when you notice, and if you want to be preemptive, there's actually data that shows that it's about at a 52-minute mark for most people, it's really important for us to take a break. And so we can use that opportunity to get up, to move your body, because you're not a rock, right? You're not a rock. And so it's really important to recognize that in order to feed the ability to continue on and get to the finish line of the goal, we can slow down. We can step away from the task at hand. Maybe it's to go refill your water bottle, have a snack, take a power pause, move your body, re-engage that more aligned, efficient posture so that your body is getting energy naturally without having to consume a load more caffeine or, have some sugary snacks. What we're doing here is we're nourishing the ability for your body to perform. Because when your body is thriving, it sends the signal from your nervous system, from your body up to your mind, right? And if you're in that strong, open power pose, then your body is signaling safety. And when you signal safety, then the amygdala, which is the survival center, the threat detection center of the brain, receives the signal that everything's okay because you're not scrunched over in weak posture, taking short, shallow breaths, which triggers stress even more. And your body's signaling up to the brain that everything is copacetic in the body. And then your prefrontal cortex, which is the high functioning creative aspect of your brain, the decision-making aspect of your brain, comes back online. So not only are you working with that ultradian rhythm more instinctively and intuitively, you're actually nourishing your nervous system so that you are able to stay in that regulated state. And so what we know about the brain and the nervous system is that we don't perform well under stress. And so if we're bypassing that natural rhythm of the body and we're attempting to just power through and keep going, we tend to default and we tend to run more on the cortisol levels versus the dopamine and the oxytocin, which are more nourishing neurochemicals in the body that we talked a little bit about earlier. And so when we are working with the natural rhythm of the body in those 60 to 90-minute cycles, we step away, we take a power pause, we nourish the body through movement, we're nourishing the body through water, nourishing snacks, then we're supporting the system, right? And when we support the system, we're resourcing the system. And when we are back online from that place of groundedness and centeredness and focus and clarity and that level of awareness within the nervous system, we signal the prefrontal cortex to come back online. And as I mentioned, that's considered the CEO of the brain. And it's responsible for decision making, problem solving, and planning and focus and clarity. All of those things are the responsibility of that part of the brain. So we're signaling that part of the brain through the body, right? 80% more information comes from the body to the mind versus the other way around. Your brain only signals about 20% of the activity of your nervous system. So it's important that you're nourishing the body and treating it as the tool that it is, right? By giving it that power pause, giving it the moment of movement, of breath, of grounding, of play, whatever it is, because that naturally supports the higher levels of creativity and focus and performance. So it really is a beautiful way to nourish the system. And then when the body is in homeostasis and in that regulated state, then all of the systems get what they need to thrive. So we have the longevity, we have the output, we have the joy, we have that expressiveness, we have the playfulness, we have the natural energy flowing in your body. So that's really quite interesting, right? And so I said it wasn't a hack, but it is. It is in a way, right? And so what's interesting here is that in addition to that ultradian rhythm, where the natural rhythms of the brain cycle at about 60 to 90 minutes, after about 60 to 90 minutes, the prefrontal cortex, which is that key player in everything that we just mentioned, it starts to fatigue. It starts to fatigue because of everything that we just mentioned, i.e., if you're asking it to do a lot of work, it's not able to do that high level of quality output consistently for long periods of time without what? Without the pause, right? And that's why power pauses are the most effective way to boost and maintain energy, as well as boost and maintain performance. And so after about 60 to 90 minutes, we start to have fatigue in that area of the brain, which impacts your decision making, which impacts the quality of your thinking, the clarity of your output. And so you're more prone to distractions, you're more prone to mistakes, you're more prone to impulsiveness, right? And so this is all really, really based in neuroscience, but it's looking at your productivity and your performance from a more holistic perspective, because we can't just be running the machine ongoing, the machine being you, ongoing and expecting high quality performance if we are not working with the natural cycles. And here we start to recognize, and that's why it's the number one mindset shift in preventing burnout, is that rest and breaks are a tool to ensure that high quality level of performance and not a reward for such things. And so what we're looking at here is how to continue forward on the journey without exhausting yourself and getting anywhere near burnout. And that's why power pauses are so key, because what they do is they replenish and support your nervous system, therefore the quality of your thoughts, the energy that you're in, the mood that you're in, the posture that you're in, the way that you communicate, the way that you listen to other people. They support all of those things in a very beneficial way because they're supporting the system at the deepest level. And when we can shift brain activity from that stressed out, worried, anxious, spiraling patterning of the amygdala or stress into focus and clarity and presence and solid, grounded leadership energy, because that's what's available to you when you are in that regulated, centered, grounded state, not running on the fumes of cortisol and exhaustion and caffeine, but instead replenished and resourced and ready. And you're really steady within that readiness. You're able to do the tasks because you're working with the natural rhythms of your body, not attempting to run a million miles an hour for an extended amount of period and then finally rest on vacation for 2 weeks at the end of the year. No, in order to perform at the peak capacity and output and ability, it gets to come from that resourced place. And that's why we want to look at these breaks and power pauses as the tool that they are, so that you can access all of the gifts that you have, so that you can access all of these different qualities that you have. And you're doing it from a very steady space. You're able to be driven and ambitious, you're detail oriented, you're focused, you are saying yes because you want to, because you're resourced, and you're not getting to the point of depletion or exhaustion. And so it's really important that we have this mindset shift around these moments. And the beautiful thing with power pauses is because they are very effective, they're also very efficient. We don't need to take long periods of time unless you want to do that, because they're very effective in just 3 minutes at a time. So 3 minutes of very focused attention is enough to create a shift in the nervous system to shift the inner state and come back to that place of connected awareness and come back to that place of regulation so that you can show up very intentionally, very grounded, focused, ready for action from that place of being resourced and taken care of at the deep level of the nervous system. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I wanted to just share a quick little action-packed, but also hopefully perspective shifting, because it's so important that we recognize that as much as we are appreciative of advancements in technology and, in the systems that we use, the core system that you use is you. And your body is the vehicle for the mind and the essence of you, which are your unique qualities, which cannot be replicated by artificial intelligence. And that's one thing that, as incredible as AI is and technology is, it will never replace you and the core essence of you and the way that you show up and you do the work that you do. So we get to nourish that core essence that is your energy, your communication style, your way of leading, your way of writing. That will never be replaced. So we get to take care of that and prioritize that. Because in a world that is relying more and more on artificial intelligence, it's so imperative that your unique skill set, your unique energy, your unique attributes are prioritized and therefore protected. And that's what we're talking about here is we're talking about nourishing and supporting your energy so that we can continue to do what you do in the way that you do it as long as you want to, as long as you can, as long as you're able to, because you know these natural rhythms of your body. You know this way of nurturing this high level of performance by this very understated and often dismissed tool that is taking breaks. And we want to look at this from a very proactive point of view. We're both proactively nourishing and taking care of ourselves, but we're also doing it from a preventative point of view, right? We've heard that like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Is that it? I hope so. I think that's it. Sometimes me and these euphemisms, I make up my own version of them, meaning that it is more effective for us to nourish ourselves in the moment rather than playing catch up down the road and having to recover the whole system, is where I was going with that. And so what we're learning how to do is work with this incredible system that you have, right? Your body and your brain is so incredibly intricate and amazing. And so how can we connect to that system at a deeper level? How can we understand it at a deeper level? And so as much as we want to make use of these incredible systems and tools outside of us, it's so imperative that we work with the system that we is your true operating system, and that's your nervous system. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that that was really insightful for you. And I would love to have you join us for the productivity leak because we're going to dive a lot deeper into all of this. So make sure to grab your spot for free. Make sure to tell me what really dropped in and landed for you about this episode, and we will see you very soon. Thank you again for being part of this incredible community, and take good care. Bye-bye.